Well, the attempted shoe attack on the CJI on Monday has triggered a big war of words, Veera, with the opposition gunning for the BJP and also the centre. Now, top Congress leaders from the party, President Mallikarjun Kharge to former UPA chief Sonia Gandhi, have called the attack on justice, on Indian constitution, while the BJP has also condemned the attack in sharpest words. Mallikarjun Kharge, in fact, claimed that this targeting of CJI was a result of 10 years of hate and bigotry in the country. The BJP, like I said, has condemned the attack in strong words. Prime Minister himself has said the attack has angered every Indian. He called the attack reprehensible. Meanwhile, the advocate who threw the shoe at CJI Gavai, Rajesh Kishore, has been released from custody after the CJI said that he did not want any action to be taken against him. Rajesh Kishore continues to brazen it out, Veera. He now says that he targeted the CJI because he insulted Sanatan Dharma.
That's right, Vasudha. I don't know which is more disconcerting, whether the attack itself or the brazen defense of it, or the politics of it, or perhaps the reflection of deep social chasms that it showcases. Let's first listen in to that brazen argument, unacceptable to many, given by the lawyer who was accused, who attacked the CJI in the courtroom, and also the response that's come in from the Chief Justice's family members first, before we get into the politics of it in a bit.
डॉक्टर राकेश किशोर जी हैं जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एडवोकेट हैं, पीआईएल दाखिल करी थी। आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि आखिर वो पूरा प्रकरण क्या था, क्यों आप ऐसे ट्रिगर हुए कि आपको मुख्य न्यायाधीश सीजीआई के ऊपर जूता उछालने की नौबत आ गई।
16 सितंबर को जब चीफ जस्टिस गवई की अदालत में एक पीआईएल लगी थी, वो मेरी दायर की हुई नहीं थी, किसी और ने दायर की थी, मुझे उसका नाम भी नहीं पता। उन्होंने पीआईएल दायर की थी कि भाई खजुराहो एमपी में, मैं भी वहाँ 3-4 दफ़े उस जगह जा चुका हूँ, वहाँ पर एक मूर्ति है 7 फुट की विष्णु भगवान की, जिसको आक्रमणकारियों ने, आक्रांताओं ने, जिन्होंने हिंदुस्तान पे कई बार आक्रमण किया, आप सब जानते हैं कौन थे वो, उन्होंने ज़्यादातर मंदिरों की मूर्तियाँ, ये खजुराहो ही नहीं, पूरे हिंदुस्तान की बहुत सी मूर्तियाँ आप देखेंगे तो मंदिरों को उन्होंने खंडित किया, अपवित्र किया। तो उसी से संबंधित एक पीआईएल किसी विष्णु भगवान के भक्त ने लगाई थी कि सीजेआई को कि आप ऑर्डर करके इसे रीस्टोर करा दें, सर लगवा दें, क्योंकि इतने समय से लोग देखते हैं और वाकई सब उस जगह से एक बहुत ही बुरा इम्प्रेशन लेके आते हैं और रोते हुए आते हैं। मैं तो रोता ही हुआ आता था। तो सीजेआई ने क्या किया कि उस याचिकाकर्ता का वास्तव में मजाक उड़ाया, मेरे सनातन धर्म का मजाक उड़ाया, ये कह के कि तुम मूर्ति से कहो कि वही अपना इंतज़ाम कर ले कुछ, तुम इतने बड़े भक्त हो विष्णु के, तो तुम वहाँ जाके मेडिटेट करो, प्रेयर करो, वही अपना इंतज़ाम खुद कर लें।
भारत के चीफ जस्टिस आदरणीय भूषण जी, इनके ऊपर जो जूता फेंका है उसका सर्वप्रथम मैं निषेध करती हूँ। भारतीय संविधान यह सबको समान संधि देती है, पर कुछ लोग कानून हाथ में लिए हुए ऐसा बर्ताव करते हैं कि भारत के लिए वो बर्ताव शर्मिंदा है और उससे देश में अराजकता फैल सकती है। ये करने का ये देश में किसी को भी अधिकार नहीं है।
कल जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया भूषण जी गवई पर एक अटैक हुआ है, एक हमला हुआ है, ये जो हमला हुआ है ये पर्सनल लेवल पे डेफिनेटली नहीं है। ये जो हमला है हमारे संविधान, हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का हमला है। हमारा संविधान सबसे श्रेष्ठ है और हमारा ये कर्तव्य बनता है कि हम हमारे संविधान को सुरक्षित रखें। हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स, हमारे देश के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स को प्रोटेक्ट करें।
Absolutely unacceptable and outrageous, Vasudha, the attack itself, and there can't be any justification for it. But the politics around it is also intense, raising questions over whether it is a reflection of a deeper social chasm or is it just one-off incident. Let's just listen into the political reactions before we deep dive into a discussion.
ये सोच से भी ऊपर है कि इस देश की उच्चतम न्यायालय में जो सबसे वरिष्ठ जज हैं, द चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया के ऊपर एक सिरफिरा वकील आएगा, नारा लगाएगा और जूता फेंकने की कोशिश करेगा। ये बहुत दिक्कत तलब बात है। ये शायद उनका बड़प्पन है कि उन्होंने कहा कार्रवाई चलती रहे, लेकिन ये हम सबके लिए चिंता का बहुत बड़ा विषय है। और असलियत ये है कि ये इसका होना शायद इसलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि वो दलित समाज से आते हैं। मुझे कहने में कोई गुरेज नहीं है। रायबरेली में एक दलित को पीट पीट के मार दिया जाता है, अराजकता अपने आप को बाबा का आदमी बताते हैं, यहां पर एक दलित चीफ जस्टिस के ऊपर इतना बड़ा अटैक होता है। मुझे लगता है ये बहुत दिक्कत तलब है। इसकी जितनी बुराई, जितनी निंदा की जाए कम है। ऐसे व्यक्ति को सजा मिलनी चाहिए।
चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया जो दलित समाज से आते हैं और वर्षों बाद कभी एक दलित जो है इस कुर्सी पे बैठा है, उसके ऊपर एक वकील ने जूता मारने की कोशिश की। ज्यादा से ज्यादा आलोचना होनी चाहिए, बड़ी से बड़ी सजा मिलनी चाहिए। मगर क्या हो रहा है, बाकायदा एक तय तरीके से, एक ऑर्गेनाइज तरीके से राइट विंग ट्रोल्स सोशल मीडिया पे उस वकील को हीरो बना रहे हैं।
So how can our courts be free of bias, Veera? That's the question we are asking now. Former AG Mukul Rohatgi joins us. Thank you, Mr. Rohatgi, for being part of this broadcast. Direct question to you first. Why are our courts turning into political battlegrounds? Some people are saying that these are just majoritarian ideas creeping into institutions that have to be neutral.
See, it's unfortunate that this is a case of a lawyer and not a disgruntled litigant who may have been facing a trial for the last 20 years or something. So it's not a case of that kind. It's unfortunately a case of a lawyer who has just come in and started, throwing a shoe. And I'm told that when he was walking out of the court, he was saying something to the effect that सनातन धर्म के खिलाफ कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए, etc. Something like that. It seems to me that he is either a religious fanatic who seems to have been carried away by some observation made by the Chief Justice in some case about a month ago, or he is using the court as a political platform or a religious platform to propagate his views about some religion, etc. That seems to be the background, because the gentleman was very calm.
Right.
I came to the court after 5 minutes. He was very calm when he was being taken out.
Right.
So it's not a case of a person who kind of lost his mind in the spur of the moment or something like that. But it is according to me, very wrong for a lawyer of that age, of a middle-aged or a senior-aged lawyer, to react in such a fashion and show complete intolerance,
Right.
and commit the grossest contempt of the Supreme Court.
Sir, as you rightly point out, it's a lawyer of that age, which is a lawyer in his 70s committing an act of this nature and then giving a justification for it, is deeply disconcerting. What is the reflection on the legal community? How does this reflect on the legal community as a whole, sir?
Look, what the lawyer did was completely unpardonable. It is the grossest form of criminal contempt,
Right.
as defined by the law. It attracts a punishment of 6 months. According to me, that should have been awarded so as to ward off similar incidents. See, it's not as if that somebody would get hurt by throwing a shoe or a shoe landing on the court's, dais.
Right.
It is a frightening thing that people are trying to take the law into their own hands rather than behaving courteously in a court of law. That is what a lawyer is taught. According to me, the Chief Justice showed exemplary courage and maturity,
Right.
that he did not react. Otherwise, he could have ordered the lawyer to be taken into custody and sentenced to 6 months straight there and then, because this is contempt in the face of the court and could have been dealt with in that fashion. But the Chief Justice acted very maturely and finally said that he's not bothered with these kind of things. In fact, I entered the courtroom after 10 minutes and I argued my case, and I found the Chief Justice to be extremely calm and cool and completely composed. But such activities have happened. It happens once every 20 years. I remember it happening about 20 years ago.
Right.
A shoe was thrown, and many years ago, maybe 50 or 60 years ago, somebody tried to attack a judge on the dais in the Supreme Court with a knife. That also happened. Therefore, one has to be vigilant. The security has to be tight to ensure that such disgruntled elements don't get their way in these kind of things.
Right. Mr. Rohatgi, in that case, was it right for the CJI to personally forgive the attacker? Shouldn't such acts face legal consequences? Because it's not just about compassion, but there's also a possibility that this might embolden others.
Well, I for one thought that there should have been exemplary punishment. But in retrospect, I think the Chief Justice showed maturity and did not want to take this matter any further. Because probably in his career he would have seen many either disgruntled litigants or lawyers or other people who are unable to think rationally. So apparently he did not decide to take any action. And that, I think, is also probably an acceptable situation. I think it is necessary for the security to be extremely tight so that people who stand up in court and take off a shoe should be nabbed before they can actually throw a shoe or throw a missile or throw a projectile to the court.
Sir, you've been an extraordinary observer of the Indian legal system for many decades. What's your bigger concern today? That an action like this could take place inside the courtroom, or the obsession with religion and the justification for it that's led perhaps to an action of this nature? What's the bigger concern for you?
No, certainly this so-called expression of religion or something like that is completely unacceptable in a court of law. Whether it is by a lawyer or whether it's by somebody else. Courts of law are not meant to propagate religious ideas. Courts of law are meant only for deciding cases. And that is why these actions should be nipped in the bud.
Right. Mukul Rohatgi,
important
making
point that you make there.
Yes, Veera.
Go ahead, Vasudha.
So, Mr. Rohatgi, they're making that very important point that courts are not supposed to propagate religious ideals. Also joining us now is Siddharth Yadav of the BJP, Mahima Singh of the Congress Party, and author and activist Suraj Yangde with us. Thank you all of you for being part of this broadcast. Siddharth, to you first. The BJP has condemned the incident. We all know that. But social media is a different game altogether, where a lot of right-wingers are talking about how upset they are with the CJI for his comments on Hindu deities, something that he clarified later. Is there a sense of pressure that the BJP feels when it has to keep assuring people that the party supports Sanatana Dharma, but also condemns violence against a Dalit Chief Justice like what happened yesterday?
No, Vasudha, I don't think there is any kind of pressure. The Bharatiya Janata Party is very clear. Violence cannot be the answer to anything. People are, open, and they have the right to dissent. They have the right to have their own opinions. But resorting to violence, and specifically in a court of law, is something that which should not be condoned. And that is why, even the Honorable Prime Minister has condemned the act immediately. And the Bharatiya Janata Party also condemns the act. It's definitely a very sorry state of affairs. The reason for the same can be anything. It can be a fanaticism for, an individual himself. It can be the ideas of an individual. But for whatever the reason or the case may be, such kind of an act, and that too in the Honorable Supreme Court of our country, is something which has to be condemned. And that is what the Bharatiya Janata Party is doing. The people who are trying to politicize the issue, the people who are trying to link the issue to other things or cases, or the people who are trying to grab this issue being, practicing a political vulturism, I think should also try and avoid this. And this is something which across the political spectrum, everybody should come on the same board and condemn this unequivocally in the same language. And
Right.
tone.
Let me take that question across to Advocate Mahima Singh. Ma'am, respond to what the BJP is saying, A, and B, it's a one-off incident inside the court. As Mukul Rohatgi pointed out, 20 years ago, there was another incident. While it is one of grave concern and completely disconcerting and unacceptable, to link it to political realities outside may not be fair is the argument. Respond to it.
Jai Hind, first of all, Veera, it's good to hear those words from a BJP spokesperson's mouth. Dissent, that they honor dissent, that they stand against hate and violence. It's good to hear, and we hope that they will walk the talk at least in forthcoming elections of Bihar and other states. You see, unfortunately, Veera, the BJP's, I would say helplessness today, the kind of jeopardy that they have been put today because the words uttered inside the court were Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan ka apman nahi sahenge. And the BJP spokespersons and leaders alike, you listen to their narrative today, the kind of unusual pauses, the kind of hiccups that you're hearing are very telling. Now, let me come to the very critical question that arises in my mind, just like the fellow countrymen who have witnessed this very unfortunate event yesterday and have heard about it. The very critical question today, Veera and Vasudha, is that, it's not a mere coincidence, or is it a mere coincidence that this is the centenary year of the RSS's foundation? And here we see a sort of a replay of what might have happened with Bapu. Because these pseudo-Sanatanis in the name of Sanatan can go and attack the first Buddhist CJI of the country inside the court.
Mahima, I'll just get Siddharth Yadav to respond to that because Siddharth Yadav is also a lawyer in the Supreme Court.
Allow me to complete my thought. Vasudha, please allow me to complete my thought and then you can ask. I'll not take very long. In the name of Sanatan, they can, attack the legacy and heritage of Baba Sahibs. In the name of Sanatan, today you see protests going on at Bodh Gaya because those pseudo-Sanatanis are there to take over the sanctity of the Buddhist religion. So in the name of Sanatan, these pseudo-Sanatanis cannot...
Okay, I'll get Siddharth now to respond to that. Respond to you, Mahima, but let me bring in Suraj Yengde also. Suraj Yengde, what does the attack on a Dalit Chief Justice tell us about caste bias in Indian institutions? Because I was looking at social media today. They say that this is outrage-driven action. How do you explain this sensitively to people who keep questioning reservation, who confuse, who are not familiar with Ambedkarite movement? Because that is a challenge for everyone.
Thank you, Vasudha. It's good to see you, Veera, as well. I'd like to make a few points in a form of preface, and then I'll please, if you'll indulge me to come and respond to you, Vasudha. The first question, as Mahima had really brought up in reference to Sanatan. And for example, I mean, the whole idea of Indian history is being kind of at a moment of revival. So Sanatan Dharma as a concept doesn't really exist. Sanatan Dhamma, which is the Dhamma of the Buddha, is where this whole idea kind of comes into bearing. Second thing, the accused here, Mr. Kishore, who had hurled and does this reprehensible act, was really making a case about these temples, and he was indirectly referring to the Muslims as the kind of people who are coming in attack. But there are so many sites of Hindu temples, like Jagannath of Puri is a Buddha, Balaji of Tirumala is the Buddha. So many sites of such nature have been co-opted by present Brahminical Hindu sites. And what the CJI has done is not just to get into his Ambedkarite ethos, but he has just provided what a sensible man would do. And that's his position. Now, this person who is really daring to come on stage, and CJI, the top constitutional post when it comes to the judicial system and also in regulating the affairs of the country, an impeccable record of a man, who has had a kind of a sterling career. I see this incident, Veera Vasudha, as a long battle, and this is one of the episodes of Brahmanism as opposed to Buddhism. Right. This is where we see, and unfortunately, people like CJI is one of the victims that we have seen glaringly now, but then such incidents unfortunately will happen. And my thing is, if the BJP is so concerned and Congress is concerned and AAP is concerned, which is great to hear that, what are they doing about those social media biles that we are seeing that really propagate? I mean, I've seen a video GIF that was showing CJI being slapped with a shoe, which was atrocious to any conscious Indian watching that.
Right.
You're making a very important point, Suraj. Let me take that across to Siddharth. Siddharth, two contentions that's been made before you. One is that there is a condoning of Sanatan Dharma in many ways, and not understanding that the ideological, socio-political definition of it could be different from different prisms that's seen. B, A, that leads to an action of this nature. B, while you condemn it, while you condemn the action, what's being done on the ground to ensure that the condemnation is so so fearful that it does not allow any kind of justification for an action of this nature?
No, Veera, I'll answer your questions categorically. First thing, I think it's a bit unfair to categorize Sanatan Dharma and to make Sanatan Dharma a punching bag just because one person, and that too a lawyer, did something for God knows what reason, for what benefit he wanted out of that. And to make Sanatan Dharma a punching bag and give an opportunity to political parties like the Congress party, who would just expose themselves in the 2 minutes like my learned friend did, and take that opportunity not to comment, not to condemn the incident, but to take an opportunity and say Sanatan Dharma aisa, Sanatan Dharma waisa, Sanatan Dharma ko practice karne wale log aisa hi kaam karte hain. I think this is most unfortunate and this is very unfair. For what, why this incident happened, what this person did and for what reason, nobody knows. It is this has to be condemned in the most unequivocal vocal terms. This has to be condemned loud and clear. That is what we are doing. This is point number one. So don't the people who
said that he was upset with the CJI and he will not tolerate any comments against Sanatan Dharma, right? So he himself has said this, and it was, I think, very generous of the CJI not to take action against him.
The action, Vasudha, is condemned.
Vasudha,
I'm sorry to butt in, Vasudha, but the action is condemned, but not the thought process which leads to the action. That's the question that's been raised, Siddharth.
Okay, Mahima Singh, your response.
Absolutely.
Okay, Siddharth,
who can pin it down to which? I'll just complete in 10 seconds. Yeah. Who can pin it down to what was the actual contention or what was the actual thought that brought it to? Nobody, and nobody can be endorsing such a thought. Nobody can also become, a torch bearer that I have done this and that's why that was the thought. ये किसी के पास ठेकेदारी नहीं है, if I have to put it that plainly and roughly, right, for your audience. If someone goes out and does something which is condemned by all factions of the society and people who practice Sanatan Dharma, the people who speak for Sanatan Dharma, I do not think that the Congress party should take this as an opportunity to bring caste factors in, Sanatan Dharma.
Comes from a different background. As Suraj was also explaining, his worldview is different, his lived experiences are different. The way he looks at Sanatana Dharma is very different from the way a lot of privileged people might look at it. Mahima Singh, how would you respond to this?
Vasudha, you see, I'm very intrigued by the word punching bag used by the BJP spokesperson, and thanks to him for that. Because yes, the venom spewing mentality of the BJP has turned the religion in this country, whichever religion it is, to a punching bag. And when it comes to Sanatan, the word means truth. The eternal truth, that is Sanatan. That is what is Sanatan and which the BJP is miles away from. Let me ask them, Vasudha, today, a request has been made and a petition has been moved before the AGI, before the Attorney General of India. I'll give you the name of the person. Suraj Kumar Buddh has written to the AGI asking for action against Aniruddhacharya. We know which organizations is he affiliated with, and against Ajit Bharti for provocative statements against the Honorable Chief Justice of India, who happens to be the first Buddhist CJI, to be the second Dalit CJI of this country. The very fact that pinches the BJP and the RSS in the core, and that is exactly why what we see. We've seen
rhetoric is this.
And let me just say, Vasudha, ask the BJP. There's a double-engine government in
I think the Congress party should not forget it was the Bharatiya
What
Janata
have
Party
they done?
which
All
made
right,
a Dalit
the Bar Association
sit in the top office, the head of the state.
Charges. Why did the Prime Minister not speak for the whole day? Why did the Home Minister, Prime Minister, the government not come in and make remarks till the very end of the day yesterday?
The Prime Minister made remarks.
Mahima, the Prime Minister was very quick to respond yesterday. In fact, he called it a reprehensible. He said every Indian needs to be ashamed of it.
My goodness.
Yeah, Veera, you were saying something.
No. Please go ahead. Just finish, both of you, 20 seconds. Mahima Singh, you finished your point. Go ahead, Siddharth, very quickly, 20 seconds before I get the last word from Suraj.
I think this is most deplorable for the Congress party to come here and be like a political vulture and do politics on this. The Prime Minister came out very quickly, condemned the incident, spoke to the Honorable Chief Justice, and you must not forget, the Congress party should not forget, it was the Bharatiya Janata Party who made a Dalit to sit in the top office in this country. Elect them.
20 seconds, Mahima, respond.
That's absolutely wrong.
Coming from the ST
That's
community is
absolutely
now
wrong.
leading the country.
Mahima, very quickly respond before we go to Suraj. Yeah, Mahima.
Such a wrong intention.
Be done with your rhetoric, because those rhetorics are not being accepted by the people of this country today.
You must stop
Let's cut beneath the politics now. Suraj, what's the final takeaway for you after an incident of this nature?
Veera, it is very wrong. Veera, I think it is very condemnable that the BJP spokesperson is saying it is the BJP that made CJI, Gavai, the second Dalit CJI of this country. There's a system of judiciary. And by the way,
I'm speaking of the president.
He's speaking of the president. He said the president. Ramnath Kovind.
What is happening?
Yeah, after K.R. Narayanan, he said the second president. Suraj Jangde, your closing remarks.
Anyone can take credit for any of these things. Suraj Jangde, what's the final takeaway for you as a person, as an observer, as somebody who observes this very closely? Just go ahead with your last word on it.
I think you have gotten to the crux of this matter about two kind of segments ago, where you said the ideology behind that. And I think none of the speaker is qualified, unfortunately, to comment on that. It's much more political rhetorics and much more kind of a lack of political acumen on their behalf of the parties that they represent, which really reduces it. And again, here, what Vasudha really intervened here to say, they say we made it. As if these people were some people who were walking on the streets and they just found out and we made it and we put them a crown. This kind of extremely derogatory remark should be condemned, like as if you are somebody who's handing out the doles, And I think the way we should read this situation is that though we are looking at a cultural moment of war, that this moment is bringing to us. The RSS BJP has a narrative that it has been trying to usurp. And then we see a kind of momentary dissent in the form of CJI. CJI is an individual as much as he is a Chief Justice of India. And yet that act is being taken as a solemn. I'm thinking.
I'm very sorry I object to this.
Bhushan Mishra. Good Kishore.
I'm very sorry. You can have two spokespersons sitting here. Both of them can represent the Congress party. It's not appropriate for someone to come and comment on what the RSS is.
Let's leave this conversation here. Siddharth, point taken about this. Look, there are multiple
But let me just, Siddharth wanted to say something. See, it's also that because both spokespersons are on the same side. Siddharth, very quickly. Yeah.
The spokesperson to have his way.
Vasudha, I don't understand.
No. I get Suraj Jangde's point, and I think he's just talking about awareness in language, and I think that is something all of us need to be aware of. But Siddharth, you wanted a point.
I'm very sorry that one of your learned panelists here, Dr. Suraj, he wishes to claim himself to be the most learned of the panelists. But he must also clarify why he wishes to politicize such an issue. When across the political spectrum, and especially the government, the Bharatiya Janata Party is condemning this issue, nobody condones such a violence. Nobody condones.
But Siddharth, the problem is BJP leaders are condemning the issue, but there's a different war on social media that's playing out, and that is also being done by right-wing supporters.
Guarantee of the social media, Vasudha. I'm very sorry.
Because this is not about one action. These are about perhaps far deeper issues, Vasudha. But thanks to all three of you for joining us. We'll keep this conversation going on. Of course, it's an extremely disconcerting reality that played out. Whether it's a one-off case or should we reflect at a larger level is the deeper question, Vasudha.
Absolutely, Veera. In fact, both parties must act to protect India's courts and ensure that justice is respected by everybody.